Within the games media industry, there are different skills and resources that you need when you're starting up your own small business. For example, you're going to need to know, first and foremost, how to structure your company. And with that, you can have a management structure where at the bottom you'll have your programmers who pretty much program your games, program the web page where you distribute the games. You'll then get your technical manager who oversees the budget, makes decisions that will benefit the company in the cost-effective ways, but make sure that everything is still high in quality. Moving on, you'll go to your project director. They're mainly in charge with PR and marketing, in which they decide how to market the games and the company just to generate more publicity for it. And on top of that, you'll go to your higher end of the companies, which is more like CEOs, owners, senior managements, and they pretty much oversee everything. They delegate different tasks to other managers, and they delegate them tasks onto the workers. They've also got the power to fire people as well, or to promote them if they're doing a good job. They instigate what each individual has to do pretty much. And with that in mind, they also have to work out costs and budgets, and their main task is to make sure that they get a profit, basically, because they need to make money in order to stay open pretty much. And to make money, the main things that you do with an online gaming website is sell your games. That's how you make your money. For example, you've got Xbox. Xbox Live is owned by Microsoft, and Xbox Online, they sell Call of Duty, but they don't make the game. Treyarch makes the game and Activision distributes it, but that would mean that they distribute it back to Microsoft, who then distribute it again to Xbox Live. Activision distributes the game physically, so with that in mind, you've got to go to the shop to get the game, so you've got it in your hands to go back to download it and such. But mainly you can just get the game online, in which you've just got a code on a disc or on a memory stick, and you just pass that around, which is so much more cost effective, because then it's not time consuming. You can get the game out quicker, basically. With the online distribution in mind, a good example of this would definitely be Apple App Store, just because there's so many different demographics in terms of target audience that has an iPhone or that has access to the App Store. So the App Store needs to cater to a lot of different needs, and with that in mind, they do have a lot of different things like navigation apps, games, entertainment, music, books, educational things. So for them to cater to all that, they need to be a very tight-knit company, in which they are. It has a whole range of genres, and the App Store is not only easily accessible, it shows that Apple is a very well-known company in this day and age. It's not only easily accessible, but it's user friendly as well. It's definitely well thought out, because it's just easy. You just click on an app and you either buy or you download the game, basically. It gets free marketing as well, because if you buy an app, you know that you've bought it, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple, you're going to buy something else. So that is a very good example of a successful online distribution company. A strategy for these kind of companies, referring back to Apple again, because Apple own Apple App Stores, their main strategy would be to get the apps and games out to the public, because if it's not selling, you're just losing money, basically. They cater to the public's wants and needs. If the App Store didn't have Angry Birds, for example, they'd lose a hell of a lot of money, simply because Angry Birds is such a huge phenomenon. If they didn't have the game, they'd just lose money, and because the public would go somewhere else to get the game. However, with that in mind, some of the public might only think that they can get Angry Birds on your iPod or your iPhone. So it kind of works in both ways, because if the App Store wasn't there, then where else would the game Angry Birds go to get it out to the public? It kind of works both ways. But within these companies, you've got a huge amount of different job roles. Just like in your management structure with your different, like your project director and your programmers and such, they are completely different types of job roles. For instance, you've got your financial and your creative. They do link somehow, but they're very different at the same time. You've got your managerial, your marketing, your sales, your distribution, and your technical as well. So when applying for these kind of jobs, a company is going to look for specific aspects when they're wanting to employ someone. So with that in mind, they're going to want a lot of experience, simply because they need to know that you're trustworthy, basically. They also need to know that you are good at math, because an online gaming company like Apple, in Apple App Store, you'll have your programmers and you've got your financial, like accountants and stuff. You've got your codes. It's just general maths, and if you don't have that knowledge, there's probably the industry that you should be working for, to be honest. They'll also be looking for references, just to know that you are trustworthy within yourself. And whilst you have this in mind, there are different types of roles within these companies. You've got creative, which you can, like, with that in mind, within these companies you've got your designer. A designer for the company would design the web page and stuff, but you'd also, like with the other companies that they own, you'd have a designer for the actual game, like Treyarch design Call of Duty, but they work for Xbox or work for Microsoft. So your budget goes down, the money goes down and the profit goes up, basically. You'll move on to your sales and marketing. With that in mind, there's definitely going to be a marketing director in there who is in charge of marketing the company or the game. A lot of this is done through social networking sites, just because all the hype of Facebook, especially, if you don't market to Facebook, you're missing a lot of people on there. It's easier, it's quicker, and it's probably more cost effective. You've also got different things like your billboard, TV, viral marketing is always one of the best ways to do it. Contracts also have to be made within sales and marketing, because you need to secure a deal with other, say like if you wanted to market your product on ITV, you're going to have to make contracts or make deals with ITV so you can sell your product on their channel. That's not just going to be done for free. You can move on from that, you can get your management roles. With that you can get a finance manager. That's completely different to like a creative manager. This is why you've got to have different skill sets, because with a finance manager they need analytical skills, business skills, whereas a creative, it's kind of more open-minded because it's just a more creative base, whereas with finance you've got one answer, you've got the one route to take. If you take on a role like this, you need to have excellent communication skills in order to talk to your clients, basically, and definitely to secure contracts. That's a main thing within finance, and if you can't secure contracts, there's no point taking that job, and you won't have that job for very long. With financial managering role in mind, a financial role is also needed, like a development manager or just an accountant, basically, because within this you need once again, you need your strong problem-solving skills. This is always going to come up when the business and the financial, technical roles pop up. You need to be able to problem solve, because if the program's encrypted, you'll need to be able to just get it out, basically. Moving on, you've got your technical roles as well. Within Steam, you could be a programmer, because the company needs to have a program, and they need to program everything on the web page to make the website interactive. Problem solving skills once again come into this, because if you click on something and you can't get onto it, that needs to be sorted out quickly before you lose your market. Finally, a different kind of role would definitely be operational, and with this, one of your main ones, like within Steam, an operations director would oversee how the business side of the company is getting on. So within this, math, problem solving skills, analytical skills, these are all needed, because within an operations director, they need to see how efficient things are running. Most operational directors, you need to be able to adapt to different surroundings, because even though they mainly oversee manufacturing, purchasing and sales, if a department is lagging behind, that operations director would be going to that department. It's just expected, basically, and they also need to be expected for, if you're applying for this role, to have some sort of degree in business or finance or something along those lines. When you're wanting to start up a small business, it's pretty much location, because with the whole online distribution in mind, you need to have a good internet source. So setting up a business in the countryside where you can barely get a signal on your phone isn't exactly going to work, because if you're distributing things online, your download speed, the download process is going to take days instead of seconds, basically. So when you're deciding where your business is set up, it depends what your business is. But when it's the games in mind, you're probably best to set a place next to where there is a wireless internet, like where BT Broadband, they will have a hub somewhere in the UK, more than one usually, distributing wireless internet. Fibre optic is becoming more and more popular in this day and age. If your company is right outside of that, your internet's going to be booming. Whereas if it's 10 miles further away, it's going to be a less of an internet speed, because that internet's got to reach the first 10 miles before it even gets to you. So definitely you need to think about your wireless. That's a very big part. Also, in terms of your audience, they need to know where you are, like your clientele, the people that you join up contracts with. It needs to be easily accessible, but then again secure at the same time. Existing businesses like Apple, they are based in Cupertino in California, USA. I think this is because it's just such a big place in California. You've already got a huge target audience just within California alone, and that's out of 50 states already. The App Store is also situated in that place. Because there is so many people in California, internet's got to be good, because it just needs to cater to a lot of people. So for Apple to be situated in there, the online distribution is going to be very strong, because even if there's a higher demand at one time, the company is going to be able to handle it. When starting up a small business like this, it's not feasible to work on your own. Just because there's too many tasks to be done, it wouldn't work. Like with all your different job roles, you've got creative, financial, operational, managerial. You can't do that all at once. But with that in mind, if you're wanting to start slowly, you could maybe program your game, make that perfect, then start marketing it, selling it, then carry on selling it. But then again, that would be, you'd be making contacts basically. You'd be making deals and working with other people in which they can tell you what to do. So it's not really feasible to work on your own, because when you're working on, if everything's going on at once, if you're working on your program, you can forget to pay bill for space that you've rented, and then you won't be able to work anywhere. It's not feasible to do it on your own. When working in this sector, it costs a lot to keep your business running. Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world, and for them to run each year, just the iTunes store, which is just music and films and podcasts and things like that, it costs 1.3 billion a year. So it's a lot of money if you're starting up a business in this sector. It's usually over £20,000 per annum when you're renting or buying a place for a business in app industry. With your location in mind, you need facilities, you need equipment to use. So with different kind of equipment, you're going to need a computer when you're programming. If you don't have a computer, there's just no point working in this sector. It's just ridiculous of an idea. You need your software, and this can be a lot of different kinds of software. You need to have memory, and you need to have a contingency plan, because if everything's just on that one hard drive, if you lose that, or if that breaks, all your hard work's gone down the gull. You can't get that back. You've got to restart. So you definitely need to back up a lot of your work. There's physical and financial resources, and within physical you need your workspace, computers, you need your different types of software, where within financial you need contacts basically. You need potential investors and potential buyers, and you also need to be on good terms with your bank in case a loan needs to be taken out, or they might want to invest. You never really know. A freelance developer would only require one computer and one copy of a web app. The relationship with that is going to be quite laid back, because the company is not going to have much of an input. It's just, here, do this, get it done. It's got to be a very trusting relationship, and not a lot of people do that. When getting your equipment, when you're setting up in your location, moving back onto your software, if it's quite hard to explain this, it's definitely more cost effective to lease the equipment instead of buying it, simply because you might only need one piece of equipment, like one piece of software for the one game, and you never use it again. That's pretty much just throwing money away. You're better off renting it, just because it just saves you money and you get more profit. If a company was set on producing a specific type of app or game, like if it was just books and stuff, and you're using this one program constantly, or this one software constantly, then it's more cost effective to buy the equipment, because you're getting your money after it. But if it's not, if it's like App Store, like Apple App Store, because they've got so many different, they've got games and all them different types of apps, they're more likely to lease the equipment that they use in order to make them, simply because it's more cost effective. Overall, you need to have a good head on your shoulders, basically, in order to start a small business. You need to have a lot of skills, you need to have a lot of resources when you're starting this business.